morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers from Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. I do apologize today. I have a bit of a blocked some parts that the voice might be a bit restricted. We welcome you back to the Keshe Foundation, as I said, teaching of the Spaceship Institute. Today's teaching is on the back of the teachings of past few weeks. And now we have become aware of the work of the universe, the way the universe is structured, and the way this universe moves. Every particle, every being, even the skin of the man which you is solid, is a dynamic, and cells within it are continuously in motion. Let's learn the objects in the space we look at. Where does the essence of the motion comes in the dimension of the universe? As we spoke before, the origin of the whole structure is a magnetic field. We call it a fundamental particle, as fundamental plasma. The other name for this fundamental plasma, which has led to the creation of this universe, we call it the God. And on the other hand, there is no difference. We are within a sphere that magnetic fields are embedded in it, and they interact, they expand. And it has a dimension collection, dimension restriction. To what extent this universe of ours will extend, it depends on what pressures and other universes which allows it to grow into, in the space-time of the universe, allow it to. But what happened? How come we start with a single or combination of the magnetic field, and this leads to creation of such a structure as a universe, with all these planets, with all these, with all life? In fact, this process is very simple. But the life on this planet and the life in the universe as a whole is very much restricted by the process of the creation of the fields, interaction of the fields, and in a way the whole process, where did it start? How come from one field, one ray, we have such a combination of the structures, man, planetary system, complicated the structures of universe? If one look at the whole structure, if one understand the process of the creation, one will come to see it's so simple. It actually is one of the simplest things. As long as you have a field, and this field is in motion, it does not matter how it evolves, what space it has, somebody crosses these lines, and you just need to give it one dimension and direction. As you see on the drawing. But to you, this is a line. Follow this in a different way. If you look at it this way, for example, on this line, you see that the line is going away from the center where it started. But in this way, it's coming back to it. But what is interesting is this point. What is interesting is this point. this point, and many like this. And this gives us understanding of the world of creation. Because when the field interacts with another field, residual creates a plasma, even though it's of the same. And this plasma, depending on its position, will have the same position, interacting within itself in the same manner as a bigger structure. So one can see how, like galaxies and different life started. And as this continuous field in the center exists and feeds, this leads to creation of what we call life. Life in a way of residual leftovers. If we look at this and change the center of the universe, the creator of the whole lot, to a sun, if you look, it's the same structure again. If we just change the color, we see repetition of the same. Which means, if I change the center of the universe to a sun, again, these fields of the sun, within the environment it has in the galaxy, creates the same kind of motion. An interaction of these fields, somewhere at the end of the line, leads to plasmas. The only thing the scientists never understood, and the world of science never understood, was a simple fact. And this simple fact is that when two magnetic fields interact, they don't need physically to touch each other. They come near each other because they have a dimension. In this process, does not matter which way they are moving and which way they came, they create residual fields, which these residual fields of them crossing each other creates a plasma. And in a way, if you look at it, a plasma at the point of intersection is that patch, which is a collection and collective collection of whatever is made by interaction of the two fields. Once we understand this, then understanding of how universes, how everything else, how galaxies, how cell in the body of the man, how your kidney is positioned, is created. There is no energy in a way in the womb of the mother, except in a way of what feels that body, that womb creates, that womb becomes the limitation of the interaction of the fields, which later on becomes the fetus. And then in field interaction with outside, which the womb of the mother has dictated, leads to creation, manifestation of the man with 2 legs, 2 arms, and the rest of it. Once the world of science understand this in much deeper way, we see in a way galaxies have the same structure. We are in such a hurry in the world of the science of man, like a bull in a china shop, that we don't stand still to look, to understand. And that is very simple. If you look at the body of the man, with his arms and with his body, with the position of his kidneys, with the eyes and with whatever else, once the world of science understands what this means in the structure of life, you will see the same thing in the structure of the galaxies. Which means we come to see what we call the position of holding fields within the galaxy, a position of the observing what other things is happening by field interaction, a position of storing materials as like a liver, and how to digest the energies which come from the universe, and it goes through it. And then you compare this, you parallel this with the other galaxies, and you say, okay, this set of galaxies in this part of the universe behave like what we call the kidney of the universe. Then we see the bigger structure. Then we understand the function of totality. In a way, an energy in a package arrived in certain position in Unicos, which in that energy, which is a magnetic field in motion, led to dimensional motion of this field, which then, in a way, by absorbing energy from the Unicos, created the life of what we call our universe. Isn't this the same as what we do in the womb of the mother? We introduce a seed, and the mother puts a bit into it, and the whole cycle of life starts. Here, we are in the womb of the mother. Here, we are in the womb of Unicos. There is no difference. Interaction of the fields in the way they are targeted leads to creation of the liver, kidney, and the rest, and it's the same with the universe. The reason I brought this subject up is that this topic opens another dimension to understand. If this universe, seeded from the beginning in the center, has its own dimension and direction, and is growing, as the scientists tell us, is expanding, it has to have a place to be fed into fields, like the umbilical cord of the mother, or the energy within the placenta, or the energy within the liquid of the field of the womb of the mother, and has a dimension to go. Continuously receives energy and gives energy. And if you understand this and find out in the future science of man which way their fields come in and they go, we can jump into Unicos. And the same way come back into our universe. This is what we do every day through the dimension of the soul of the man, the energy within the center of the man does the same trip. No difference whatsoever. There is nothing special about man which man would like to make it. That this leads to another step. This leads to another dimension of the understanding. This leads to the totality of the life of the man and how these fields come. Then, if we literally look back at what we call original picture, then we understand how galaxies are created in given position, and how the stars created in certain position within a galaxy, and how within the stars planetary system started, and understanding the planetary system, how life on Earth created. The totality of the knowledge is understanding the interaction, interception of plasmatic fields. Which way they come, which way they go, how do they arrive, and how do they go? And if we expand this, we come to a very simple understanding. Life that starts with a single ray. Then, in confinement of the environment of itself, it makes motions, it makes directional motion. And in the interaction of the motion, maybe comes to proximity and others, And in that process, in the world of the man today, this is what we call hydrogen. In interacting, having common denominator, and understanding the process, this, with the limitation of the field strength, gives us at this point what we call carbon-14. And in the dimension of the motion of so many of these interactions and fields, it gives the cell a volume, which we call carbon-60. So we understand how to start with a fundamental element, energy, and through its interaction to create whole cycle of life. This is a gift of knowledge. This is a gift of understanding the process of creation. It's not that there is 7 or 6 or 2 or 1 electron and proton. Man looks at it as a matter state in the dimension of the field of creation. We look at as energy level. This energy, it creates condition of hydrogen. This energy creates condition of carbon-14. If you confine it within another dimension of fields, you call it the carbon-12 in the womb of the mother, which leads to creation of life. Fields within the fields. And if you give it a full dimensional connection, the carbon-60, which is the volume of this universe, size, and the body of the man is called the skin of the man. There is no difference. This is where carbon-60 confirms, confines the size of the planetary system or the universe or the body of the man or everything else. So if we understand that the first field, fundamental energy, in interaction and dimension with its own, creates a line of communication and connection, that the fields separate, leads to what we call the communication separation line, what we call carbon-14, and in a dimension of the motion that stays within a certain structure, then we see what we call the carbon-60 or the volume. And you understand, everything goes back from interaction and what we call dimensional fixture of the same ray. Now we understand the process of creation. Now we understand the process of understanding of creation. And then you have to bring into play is that fundamental plasma as a single plasma and in interaction with itself, leading to creation of the communication or separation, but interaction of carbon-14, and then understanding the totality in the process of the creation of everything else which man needs to have to be able to create the life of the man and life of another things in the universe. But fundamentally, this process is the cornerstone of the understanding of the creation. And how you bring this carbon-14 and how you bring the carbon-12 on a human side to any name you want to give it, but looking at it as a plasma, and the interaction back with itself leads to creation of the copper, zinc, and every other element. But we have been led by scientists of the man to understand only the matter side. But we never looked at is energy side. This is why it's been said, once man understands this, man will be able to do everything which he could ever imagine impossible, because you know the source. You become the creator. You become the decider. You become the, what I call, fundamental decision maker in how this energy manifests itself, interacts by itself, and the rest. In the past times, I tried to explain this. If you go back to the teachings of past few weeks, tried very clearly to explain this in a very fundamental way, that you understand this process, and once you understand the interaction of the fields by itself leads to line of connection, separation, and communication, which in that process, with the interaction of itself, leads to dimension of the physicality, or energy, which leads to dimension of manifestation and detection. Where does this come handy? Why we talk about it this way? You travel in a space, you come across an energy, it has no dimension, has no visualization. To you is nothing, but you're aware of it. How can you make this detectable, maybe visible, but being aware of another life? Where does this connection comes, and what strength, and what line of communication comes to it to give it physicality? In a way, this is important for you, for transmutation too. How do you change the field strength that, like what I call night vision glasses, you be able to see the physicality is not just something in the dark. Man has to be able to understand this process of the connection between the essence, the source, and the line of communication or connection between the two. Then you can develop technologies, even sensors, which does not need technology, within the structure of the soul of the man, within the structure of physicality of the man, that whatever you see, you can give it a dimension of visualization, detection. Become like the blind man who touches a thing and says, this is a fruit, this is watermelon. And because he knows the taste of it, what it could be, when he opens it, even so he's blind, he knows what to taste. Man, knowledge has to get to that point, that when it comes to a field in the universe at any point, does not need to eat it, does not need to kill it, does not need to do anything except respect and honor its existence by detecting it, and not just go through it like a bullet because I didn't know it's not there. It's like you driving down the road, a child comes across you and you just hit it and you go. Sorry, I didn't see the child. This is not doable in the universe. So we have to build senses, we have to understand systems that can recognize the totality of every energy within the universe. You are not unfamiliar with this. You are very well familiar with this. You do it every single day in your life. The grandma died 20, 30, 40 years ago, and last night you had a dream about the grandma. She has no physicality, but you know this energy is the energy of the grandma. When it comes back to your brain, this energy is transferred to figure the color of the eye and the clothing of the grandma. So what we teach is not something drastically what you don't know, what it is, you never understood the process. In the space, we do not carry the brain, we do not carry the connection with the brain that one can decipher what this object is. But we have the fields, energies within the soul of the man who can do that conversion. In a way, if you understand it in a very silly way, as I could put it, is you never thought about it. But if you understood what I just said above, you go and see the grandma. But the strangest thing is, you see yourself too. You have dinner with the grandma and you enjoy the apple she gives you, the cuddle she gives you, but, excuse me, your physicality is still here. So man, in a dimension of his own brain, is aware of his own energy. This is what is interesting. This is what you as knowledge seekers and humanity have not ever understood, because we never aware of the soul as an energy, as a plasma field which exists within the structure of our lives. Even our own soul recognizes the division of itself, that you become sitting with the grandma at a table somewhere. Grandma is in the dimension of field. She died years ago. How come you recognize yourself? This goes back again. You become the H, and the dimension of the fields become the carbon 60, and this is the carbon 40. Just stand still and for a second think, how do I recognize myself sitting with the grandma? Even my physical being is aware of my energy, which we call the soul of the man, and his transmutation. For you knowledge seekers, the only thing which is left is to understand how, if you could manifest yourself at this point in physical condition. But you're in the middle of a space, I appear, I just see energy. This energy doesn't exist, I can't see it. But in fact, it's the grandma's energy. We know, we have all the sciences of it. We have all the technologies of it within the structure of our brain, within the structure of our skull, within the structure of our physicality. It just, for us, is needed to understand the totality. How come you go somewhere and you see yourself doing something, you physically do it, you move, you drive, you eat, but you're still in bed asleep? Or you're giving the driving seat to the energy side, leaving the physicality behind. The children of Mitra have this benefit, that they can make the energy of physicality as part of the energy of the soul. Instantaneous. Because to them physicality came second, as they were created from the energy of the soul. In this process, many of you will be baffled. Many of you will understand more about the process of the technology, understanding the science of the creation in a dimension of the soul of the man, in a dimension of energy of the man. And then once you do this, you come to understand life existence of life is much deeper than we thought. It's not just by getting up, eating, and walking. It comes from the essence of understanding oneself, energy transformation, energy transmutation. And then the rest is mechanical. I'm sure you see, you feel the energy of the grandmother, you recognize it. But the grandmother does not exist, does not walk in a space, in its physical condition, as you used to go to her house and used to cook for you and used to cuddle you and you used to sit on the same table and eat with her. There are no table and chairs, but the emotion of understanding, conversion of the energy fields is what you convert in your brain. What is interesting, which comes out many times, and it must have happened to every single one of you. You went to see the grandmother, she made you the most delicious food you like, she gave you the food you like, you ate so much as grandma, I'm so full I can't. You come back to the dimension of physicality and you're starving. Now you understand how man has denied what has been given to him through the process of understanding the energy field of itself. Just think 1 second. How can I be with the grandmother? Don't know where she is. How come you find it so fast? And how come the mother shouts at you, get up, it's time to go to work, and say, goodbye, grandma, I have to go, mom is calling me. You come back in the dimension of physicality and carry on with life. Mom, I had a dream of the grandma. I was having food with grandma. It was so delicious. Are you hungry? Yes, I'm starving. Why don't we carry the energy from one to another? Why don't we understand the dimension of the other? This is where the game starts. Understanding to become the passengers of the universe in how you can travel the dimensions of the existence, the totality of life in the universe. The most important part for you as knowledge seekers is this: connection and creation. Book number 1, to book number 2, and the book number 3, where this is your book number 3, this is your book number 2, and this is your book number 1 in the dimension of the energy, and in the dimension of physicality, this is your 3, 2, 1. If you manage to connect the line of dimension of the communication, transportation, transmutation, then you can connect, manifest at any time, anywhere in the universe. This is the secret of what we call the promised promise, which means you go from the matter to energy, and from energy to dimension of the anything you like, another matter, or you start from the energy to communication, you become the matter. Where starting from the energy is the creator and the matter is you. And if you understand this, and you can convert your energies to direct transmutation of the fields, go through the process, you reach the creator. You become part. From creation to creator, and from creator to creation, there is no line of difference. It's just the lack of knowledge. lack of understanding. I hope you understood this clearly, because in the coming time, and as we started last week in the sessions of the Friday, many of you will receive the fruit as the energy. You transmuted it and you tasted it in the dimension of physicality of the man. We provided the energy of the fruit. You converted it to the taste, emotion, and the fruit. This is same part of the same structure. And if you understand this in a deeper way, in a much, much deeper way, where we could dictate or decide what fruit, and many of you who write back to us what I tasted, that material which you tasted has been on the table of the headphones, which you tapped into the energy from the source in the central system, which means we can now on dictate what we would like you to have, that you taste it and you feel it. Knowledge seekers who joined us in the last session will receive a list of what was the content of the materials which they were given. Then they can checklist what they received, what they tasted, and how they have started transferring energy from the soul, which comes through the headphones, to the physicality of the taste and energy. This was the first process of last week which we have started, because this then explains to you in a further way how we opened channels to Palestine. One soul as a satellite feeds the rest in the dimension of connection. We do not need millions and millions of resources. We need one source to feed millions. It's the way the creator is. The love of creator is one in the center, and it feeds the whole of the universe, and it's instantaneous. And then you understand the knowledge of creation. We give you the fields through line of communication. We feed the physicality. Many of you knowledge seekers who joined last week, by next session in December, hopefully we'll have your food containers, which some of the knowledge seekers have received it. And then you see what you feel, how you feel, what you taste, and how much of it, without digesting the food, will absorb through the, what we call the system. Then, do we need to kill? And do we need to do what man has done, destroy to survive, where we become all survivors without destruction? And when you get to that point, it will bring a new emotion to man, which the killing does not exist, because killing comes to survive, to show superiority, where you're superior and you have no starvation for it. This is the line where the peace will come. This is the line where man will start changing. And you knowledge seekers who joined us are the first step in that structure. You have created the first dimension. And it'll be interesting to know how you will change and make manifestation of. What will be interesting is when you go to space, you receive energy, but you see the shape of an apple, taste the apple, chew the apple and get the energy of the apple. But in your life, you have never seen an apple because you are a child of universe. You've never been on earth. You never had contact with no apple trees, and you've never seen it in your life. The process of understanding the work of the creation is fundamental to all of those who want to become the passengers of the universe, to transmute recognition of what I see as me in the dimension of the energy, while I know my physicality still here. Now you understand. The way you went to see the grandma, and you sat with the grandma, you ate the grandma, you showed the grandma, look at my new clothes, you've done half of the transmutation. But because the grandma hasn't got any more physical dimension as you knew it, because the physical body is buried 6 foot under, you recognize the energy. But why didn't you feel the taste of the food in dimension of physicality? You didn't feed yourself through the soul that your physicality gets fed. And when the mother wakes you up, would you like breakfast? Yes, I'm hungry, please. But you already had a feast. You live like a man with 2 wives, going to the new house and saying, no, I didn't have anything because otherwise this one will be upset. This is what we have missed in the line of communication. How, in this process, we bring in fields from dimension of the universe that embraces this, that this become that plasma which moves. This is the part which is missing in your line of the dream to dimension of physicality. In this process where you dreamt about the grandma, you did not do this. So you stayed in the dimension of energy. But, sorry, grandpa is alive, you are in London, and grandpa is in New York. You cannot do that with grandpa. You want to fly and you actually get there physically to feed with the grandpa. You learn half of the pack. You did not learn the totality of the knowledge, because eating with a grandpa in New York in dimension of physicality and having a beautiful lunch with grandma somewhere in a space is exactly the same. It's just you who have not recognized the power which is within you. The energy field dimension which is within you. And this is part of the process of the teaching of the Keshe Foundation. To, in a way, open your eyes to a new dimension. I tell you what this dimension is. If you go back to all the teachings over past years, I always told you that you eat 20% of your food in dimension of physicality, and 80% comes from your environment. In a way, you put the seed inside you, and then it attracts the energy to feed you for whatever else you need at that energy level. The only thing which you need to learn is how to connect your central energy fields, what you call your soul, to tap into these, because these in certain way connect to the grandmother on the energy side and connect to the grandfather on the physical side. Your line of feeding is what I explained, like the galaxies, which way it comes in, which way it goes out, and it can jump into another universe or come into your universe. That universe is you. There's no difference. And to what extent you convert, you embrace in totality, or you embrace in fraction, which is your soul, and you dream on, or you can expand. This is what I said from the beginning of the teachings years ago. If you expand your soul, then the soul will embrace, cocoons the physicality, then you can have a dinner with grandma in the dimension of energy, or transfer this when it comes to inertia of the earth, have lunch with grandpa in New York. All this, how to tap into this energy, how to receive it, goes back to one fundamental principle. And fortunately, I have given you that source of energy years ago, because it's a field interaction. Because in it, you have enough to live with it. The maglev system is that system. Energy in the dimension of the all levels. And if you understood this process, then you understand, if you design your maglev system in a specific way that become the soul of your feeding, not just making electricity to budget your food or your life. And if you understood this, one connects to the soul, one connects to the line of communication, and one connects to the physicality of the man. In creating energy in these different levels, you dictate, you transmute, or you transport. In a way, a maglev system which you've been given, and many of you made, and you look for 30% reduction in electricity, is the key to your understanding of the life and creation in the universe, and your connection with the universe. In the life of physicality, you bought yourself a car, or a bicycle, or a donkey with 4 legs. In a dimensional field of the universe, I gave you the maglev system, where, if you understand how to set it up, will give you everything you need. But you need to understand, and don't look at the physicality of it, look at the energy of it. This is the secret. And I hope, as knowledge seekers, you understand now the gift you've been given as a maglev. And you went for the crumbs. In so many ways, every time you bring in position and position, again, you stack it up as a magnetic system. You make it up as a star formation. You create a field which manifests itself. That field, if corrected and connected, will lead to interaction of the field of the fourth manifestation of the man or the creator. You remember those fields which cross from the source? Now, through the structure of fixing it, we dictate the position of the interaction. The star, the soul of the man, the dimension of the existence. And once you feed this source, as this is connected to the other souls who will feed them the same. Man shall not kill, because now man knows, understand the process. So, in fact, there is no difference between your maglev system and your star formation system. You want to stack it or you want to move it. Static and dynamic. Once man understands this technology, once man understands the work of this technology, you will be moving these from this to this to bring dimension of physicality. The soul of the man, the soul of physicality of the man, and then the physicality of man. And then if you change it, you'll have the physicality in the other way, and you see the man as energy. Then many of you should understand why you have not managed to achieve such a position and dimension. Because you never understood the process and the principle of creation. Do I want to be in the dimension of physical, or do I want to be in the dimension of motion and travel the span of the universe? In the future, I'll teach you how to combine these to create a dimension of the, what I call emotion. That then it brings you a dimension of realization, attachment and detachment from every dimension of the life in the universe. We go for a break and we come back and try to answer some of your questions. But if you understood the teaching of this morning in the full essence of it, you have found your pathway to your own creator and the creation of the whole structure of the universe and the universe. And if you tackle the last point, you find yourself within the structure of the creation, which is the creator.